favorite. Of course,
this
it's
is
a
when we
penalty
broke
kick.
the. Oh, this was to win. This was to win the league title in Portugal last season, and we had broke the world at the time. We had broke the national record for most fans in attendance at a women's game. I think there's like 15,000. We've since broke the record, but this game was record breaking at the time, and it was against Sporting, our rivals, in the men's stadium. And whoever like, if we won that game, we won league, and we won the game. And this is just my favorite.
So
it's my favorite like football memory.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I mean, this is incredible. I mean, this is incredible. This is also like, it was also to preserve the shutout too, because it's like in the 89th minute, right?
Yeah.
And it's against Fatima Dutral. So you kind of see the ball lifting. You recognize the height. You don't go too low on the shot. You stay up, and it's a great save over. Look at how excited. Save. I mean, massive. I mean, massive.
It's a huge save.
Just massive. So
like my best save of my life currently. I think it is.
I mean, just technically, you know, Saskia, from a standpoint here, we always talk about this in penalty kicks, you know, how many goalkeepers already start dropping low because they're expecting the ball to be hit low and hard. And she stays up high, recognizes the height of the shot, stays with it. And it's not easy to do. That's just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant right there. And
I love that you went with two hands. Go again.
I don't.
Boom.
No, because that helped with the power. And I try to tell keepers that all the time, that if you can, the save ends up being with your top hand, but to draw that power through your body with two hands and then shoot the hand at the last minute gives you that extra kind of power behind the ball as opposed to that anchor and hanging that one arm. And look how she's coming forward. So you're diving forward and meeting the ball. So I think if you go flat on this, you could be beat. It's just a great save. It's a great save because those ones that get roofed are like how many, they always seem to go in, and they, you know. So.
Yeah, I feel like as a goalkeeper, I have like really fast reactions. I think so. I didn't know that at the time that I was going to be diving to my left. I was like, okay, I'm going left. Like that's what I'm going to do. But like going up was only something I did because I was reacting to the ball she kicked.
Exactly.
Because like if I knew I was going to my left, but if she had kicked it on the ground, I would have stayed low. But because I saw it was an air ball, I like jumped.
And I
like,
say
I didn't
this
just
all
jump
the time.
in the air. Yeah.
And I say this all the time, Mike, and you know that it's react to it. And and the reason being is because you're forcing them to really beat you then. And if you know, especially if you have really, really sharp and quick reaction, you know, you're going to, you feel it, you could tell, like you get the jump, but I still think you hold long enough here and then you react to the release of the ball. You know, and so how many times do we see people just automatically go, like you said, Mike, low and left, and then you're beat up top? You actually committed to the left, but you said, well, where's the ball going? You know?
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I mean, you can start as the ball's being hit. You can start shooting your body, but don't change the height of your body unless you see the flight move. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just absolutely massive right over there, Katie. So now after this one here, I just got to see that again here. All right, so let's go into a little bit more of a practical scenario. Not everybody's going to be in the 89th minute to win the league in a penalty kick situation, but a lot of young goalkeepers are going to be in a corner kick situation. This is now against HIF. So this is with your new club now, right?
Yeah,
look at this crowd. Looks fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of people here. Yeah, and there was mostly the opposing team's fans. This is from my last game from last weekend.
So the 60th minute, ball's in, swinging. You kind of recognize the pressure coming in, and it's a great looping box out into a safe space. And I think a lot of young goalkeepers need to see this here, because what I love about it is that when that ball is coming in here, you recognize the loop and you just redirect the ball and let it keep going with its own momentum rather than trying to change the direction of the ball, which I absolutely love. You kind of just guide it.
Well, I also think in that amount, look at that traffic. Good God, everybody's on top of you.
Me and my defender headed each other, but we were okay. It was just a little bit.
I think, like, in this concept, maybe to bring this down or try to bring this down might have been the wrong decision. And I think if you are going to box it, to clear it what was that, a throw in almost? Like, so it's way, and you know what I also like is that you don't get drawn, and I hate that, Mike, is that you go with that runner and that person that's standing in front of you. If they lunge forward, you see goalkeepers. So you kind of reposition yourself so you're central and you can get this at its highest point.
Yeah, like I definitely had like someone on me and she was like in my way. I was like, I need to get this ball. So I just did a quick like shove and then boom, but I didn't like totally like follow her.
You didn't go
forward.
Exactly. You didn't follow her forward. You just kind of said, yeah.
I was like, just move a little bit.
Yeah.
Because one thing I see, especially with a lot of young goalkeepers in this situation, is that they get in front of the ball, and then the ball, literally they're here, the ball's back here, and it's in the back of the net type of a thing, because like they just go too high in that situation.
They go too.
I want to talk about the box here real quick before we move on to another clip here, because there's a conversation out there with a lot of young goalkeepers, and Saskia always talks about, young goalkeepers taking things too literally from coaches, but, coaches will go like, you got to box with two hands. You got to box with two hands. Well, you physically can't get both hands. If you tried to go two hands right here, like you're not going to get any power on this because of the pressure that you've got with the body weight, and also the wall's bending away from you as opposed to going into you.
Yeah, but where are you going to box with two hands, right? So if you box a ball in this situation with two hands, those two hands come forward, right? So you're boxing a ball that's coming across your body forward. So now where's that ball going to land? That ball's going to land somewhere around the top of the 18 with, I don't know the name of the team in white, with that one girl wide open, just waiting for you to do that, right? So I was always taught in this situation, continue the ball on its way, right? So Tony DeChico, don't try to redirect something this way in this situation. Continue it on its way, and that's exactly what she did.
Yeah, because it was like a floater. It was a floater. You want to like more like redirected, and it was going long. If it's like more direct and straight to you, then you punch it. If it's coming straight, but because it was like a lofted ball in a way, it's like you can't get enough on a lofted ball. You usually can't get enough momentum to like do two hands. You need to have one hand and let it follow through. Direct, because it has so much power. You could like punch forward, but
just keep it going.
Personally, I think this is a really dangerous ball. I think these looping balls with air underneath them like that kind of drop like that are really dangerous balls.
Especially with 15,000 people on you in the box. Yes.
I mean, hey Michelle, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Hey Niko, can you hear me, dude?
Yeah, I can.
What's up? What's up? How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. We were just playing an old clip from the show. That's kind of what we do before the show, is do a little bit of be real, so people aren't sitting there just listening to me set up the stream. I'm in San Francisco right now, so I'm a makeshift podcast studio in a high rise.
I saw you had the comedy show up there.
Yeah, dude. I had a show on Monday night at the Abbey Tavern. Then I did Wednesday night. I did the comedy tech roast, which was pretty darn awesome. And that was just basically like a bunch of different people pitched different startup ideas, and comedians roasted them along with like venture capitalists. So kind of a nerve-wracking experience for them, but they did it all in good fun. It was a lot of fun. And then I'm headlining tonight in Pacifica at this place called Winters. Then tomorrow I'm at a really hot place called the Sept in San Francisco. It's considered one of the top rooms in the country, so I'm very excited about that. And then,
nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so it's a pretty cool thing. Saskia's here. She's been waiting. So hold on, let me let her in.
Just babbling away, Mike. Just babbling away.
Listen, look, there's so many different things going on here. I can't help. Do you see the high rises in the background?
I've been on
City life.
I heard you talking about hi, Niko.
Hi, Saskia. How are you?
I'm like, he's never gonna notice that I'm just sitting here.
No, thank you for putting that in the private chat. I really appreciate that, because otherwise, if you had texted it, I would have gotten that ding thing going on, and then I would have been like startled. I would have been startled by that whole thing. Niko, are you at UMBC right now?
Yeah, I'm in my office, so nice and quiet. I got to shut the door and
nice.
Chill.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it, man. When's we'll talk about it once the show's. I guess we should just get the show just
Get it
show
rolling.
going. Why? Yeah, let's just do it. Here we go. By the time the intro plays, it'll be 11 a.m. So here we go. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from San Francisco, California, on location in a high-rise. I have been up here for the past week and not used to city life. You know, us in Los Angeles, we live in this rural community known as Los Angeles, and well, we don't have 70-story build. I'm like on the 70th.
You live in a high-rise in Hollywood.
Well, I live on the third story in Hollywood. That's about as high as it gets in Hollywood. Is
That's right.
The third story. Somebody that knows a little bit about highfalutin life in New York City. The one and only '99 World Cup winner,
That's
Saskia
right.
Weber, joining us from
I
the
lived in a
countryside.
high-rise on like the 60th floor in New York.
Did you really?
99 John, I think, 40-something floor. Very famous building.
God.
It's co-op
my
now,
gosh.
but yeah.
How crazy! So did you have like the tradition, like the bell, like the bell person and like the door person and all that
I have
stuff?
several.
Oh my gosh! Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! And they like tip their hat to you.
No.
And everything like
No. It was down by Wall Street.
Oh my
But
gosh!
Our roof deck overlooked the whole East River, so that was cool.
That's pretty awesome. Well, somebody that knows a lot about highfalutin lifestyle as well too. Living in the Maryland, Baltimore area. UMBC assistant coach Niko. Oh, he's being called into the. Oh,
yeah. We have a match today, so we got a lot going on around here.
Oh my god.
Great timing, Mike.
Great timing. All right. UMBC assistant coach Niko Roros, also part of Serie A Elite and Rome City Institute. Niko, what's up, man? I think, what is this, like your fourth return to the show? What is that?
I don't know. We stopped counting after 2, I guess.
Oh man. Well, we're excited to have you, man. So first off, some people might not be familiar with what you've got going on right now. Why don't you tell them a little bit about what you're doing? You're at UMBC on the women's side now?
Yeah, so I'm an assistant coach and the goalkeeper coach for UMBC women's soccer. We took over the program back earlier this year. Head coach Rick Staten came on in January, and then brought myself and the other assistant Ashley Myers-Randall on in mid-February. So I've been here grinding, working since, making some progress, and trying to shake things up in America East.
I love it, man. Saskia, a lot of the times, especially, and I think this is really important for young goalkeepers out there to listen to, that there's a lot of different conferences out there, even at the Division I level, and a lot of young goalkeepers, they think of the Big 10 or the Big 50 or whatever it's called now, and those types of conferences, and don't realize that there's a lot of playing opportunities at very elite levels, and those goalkeepers at these Division I levels are very good.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many choices of where to play, and not even Division I. If you're looking at D3, if you're going to a JUCO, there's great soccer out there, period. Find what fits for you school-wise and everything. But in the D1, there it's not just the Big 5.
No. And I think that's important a lot, for Niko, for a lot of young goalkeepers to hear, So tell us a little bit about the playing style in the America East.
Yeah, so we're just getting into conference play now. It's a very competitive league for where we're at, and for us in particular, stylistically, we're trying to adjust a few things, get a little more organized defensively, and we're just focusing on competing. In the America East, it's really anybody's game any year. It depends on the classes and that coaches bring in. It depends on the personnel they have that's healthy and able to play, and also the mood and the morale of the team in the moment. So for us here, it's more of just kind of being present every day, working hard, and trying to develop our style of play. Work on the combinations, work on the team chemistry, and get something creative going that kind of forges forward, creates a good foundation for future years.
I think one of the exciting things about a new staff coming in is you'll slowly get to build your philosophy, your team, and everything through recruiting classes, and change whatever needed to be changed, and heighten the good things that were already there. But that's got to be exciting, because you guys get to, like I said, you go out and you recruit next year, and your next classes and everything will work into those. It's so different than pro. It's not, like, all right, you're not cutting it, you're out of here.
No, it's
unless you're Deion Sanders, you can ask 50 people to leave the football team, and they do. I don't know.
Bring in a new 60 people.
That's crazy. And there are programs out there that do that, but here, we really like the foundation that was already here. We had some great kids, some great players, and just looking to kind of build off that, and like we said, just keep forging forward.
Niko, one of the things that I think is really cool about the whole experience for you right now, obviously at the collegiate level, and we are going to get to the topic in regards to the qualities of the Serie A goalkeeper, because I think it's a fun topic, and I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it. But I love talking about getting in the weeds about the college game. You're from that area. You've grown up in that area. You've coached in this area. So does that help you in regards to having a familiarity of the players, around there, and obviously doing WPSL and that sort of thing?
So it does help. Not only myself, but even the other assistant, Ashley. She's from the area. She was a great player at Penn State. Played a little pro in Australia and Iceland. So she also knows the landscape as well. We both have coached in the club scene. We both know people in the industry, and like not just the Baltimore, Maryland area, but like the DMV area. So surrounding PA, Delaware, Virginia, DC. So it definitely helps from our recruiting perspective, but also we want to have connections with the community and reach out. Like tonight, I know we have a youth team coming out to walk out with our team. So it's also moments like that. It kind of helps create a different type of atmosphere as well for the community.
Yeah, I think, Saskia, we've talked about this before in regards to especially if you're a newer college program. By newer college program, I mean, a newer staff, coming in, to really engage with that community is so important. You want to establish that relationship right away. So, so they're coming out to the games and they're supporting all the young women and everything. Whoop, did we lose Saskia?
It seems so.
I think we just lost Saskia. She just she clicked off. She's like, you know what? I don't want to answer that question. I don't want to be part of this community anymore. No, I'm sure we're having some technical difficulties. So, while we're waiting for Saskia, why don't you add on to that, Niko?
Yeah. So, that definitely in that aspect of coming on as a new staff, there's a few things that we look at is kind of what's here culture wise, what's here player wise, and also what type of outreach we have in the community. So that definitely as a staff looking at all different angles of that, we've definitely come on board. We're all, not even jogging, we're off running to the races and seeing what we can do to kind of make this our own, because we're one big team here, we're one family, so we want to make it inclusive for everyone involved.
And speaking of that, I think one of the things is that when young women come out and they kind of see this type of environment, and they go, oh, you know what, this is really cool, because I think one of the biggest issues that I've seen a lot of the times is, as we get Saskia back, Saskia, we thought you just didn't want to be part of the goalkeeping community anymore.
No, something weird. My computer, I don't know.
It's all good. I was just
how tech savvy I am. So.
I know. Well, I was just saying with Niko, I think one of the really cool things is when you start establishing that relationship with the community. Yeah. One of the problems is that a lot of players out there, they want to go and they want to play college soccer, and they've never seen these schools. They've never seen how they play or anything like that. And then they don't even realize that there's playing opportunities in their own backyard, that if they go out there and check it out, that might be an environment that they'd be interested in.
No, absolutely. I mean, for me, when I was recruited, it wasn't like there weren't as many programs back then, but UNC, like there, like all the big names, and back then it was more on the East Coast than across the entire country. But I think I stayed in my backyard and I went to Rutgers, and at that time, they were always kind of at the bottom of the top 20 and so on. But that was, there it goes again. Why is my computer? But yes,
we have you. We have you.
Yeah, I turned to my backyard for sure.
Everybody good? Everybody good? Everybody good? Can everybody hear everybody?
Yeah, I'm good. Don't worry about it. Don't pay attention to me.
We've had technical issues the last 2 weeks.
No, it's not.
The level of technology.
It's never mind. I have to go get an external drive. My disk is full. Like, I don't know. And I don't understand any of that. And I don't know.
Oh, geez, Louise. All right. So let's get a little bit into what's going on right here, Niko. So tell us before we get into the topic here, what the heck is Serie A Elite, and how did you get involved in this?
So Serie A Elite is a showcase that primarily right now is focused on the boys' side, looking for players 13 to 18. And through this process and like the showcase itself is a 2-day event. Players sign up, they come out. It goes through like a physical session, a technical session, and a tactical session of just kind of playing and scrimmaging, and then trying to identify some players that could potentially play at a higher level in Italy. So through that process, it goes through Rome City. So little backstory, when I was a student at Rome City, class of 21, one of our class projects that year for the kind of sports law class, we had 3 groups, and we split the whole class up into 3 groups. And our project was to present to the Serie A president and his board on how to expand into the U.S. Fast forward probably like a few months, say 6 to 8 months, they opened up an office in New York. So from there, they started building this program, which is fantastic. They've also had other watch party events and really trying to grow the Serie A game in the U.S. So from me as a student, fast forward to now, which has been 2.5 years, I've kind of seen things come to fruition. So it's been a really cool process to kind of see that. I've been a part of the showcases now for 2 years. They've had the showcases now for 2 years, so I've been a part of it from almost the beginning. And with the kind of data collection, with observing players and all that, and also tracking players over the 2 years, they're now going to be able to invite players to Italy this upcoming spring to have probably 10 days to 2 weeks there to actually play, to train, to be seen by scouts, to have some trials and things of that nature as well.
I mean, I think that's really cool. Saskia, obviously, when you were coming up on the men's side, Serie A was like that was like the pinnacle.
When I was coming up on the men's side?
No. When you were coming up in the game on the men's side,
Serie A was the pinnacle. Yes. But what I think about this is I sit back and I think about the players that are slowly starting to migrate to, the English league, for on the women's side. I'm thinking about the women's side, to Spain, to France, and so on. And, these are things that I feel that evolution wise should be implemented on the flip side, on the NWSL side, and even on the MLS side, where we're kind of infiltrating other countries, having something so amazing like this, and then identifying players in Europe and bringing them over and letting scouts see them and putting them in this here to get the word out, not just to rely on what we see on the internet or sending one scout out here and there or word of mouth.
I love what you just said right there, Saskia. And Niko, obviously, you're involved in the women's game at the collegiate level, and it seems like a lot of international players are starting to come over. I know on the men's side, it's been prevalent for the last few years in regards to international players coming over on the men's side. But it seems on the women's side, I was just looking at some of the rosters of the teams that you played in your conference, and there's quite a few international players, it seems.
Well, I'm going to interject really quick. Well, I think it's been like that because and I might be wrong, Niko, please, but on the women's side, this like the second best second division league in the world is, in my opinion, the NCAA system. And so not only are you getting an education, let's put that first and foremost. You're at 4-year university, and we see a lot of those players come over and play for the big teams. Florida State's always been huge at having major international players on their team and stuff, and then going back and playing pro.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, it's I agree with that to an extent. But it also really comes down to, I think, the culture and the kind of generation where people are really focused on like expanding their minds and like getting that education. But it also depends on the player and like where they come from and what they want to focus on and what they want to accomplish in their lives. Because if somebody wants to have like, say, a successful business and they want to study business, that's fantastic. But for like other players who just want to play, I know some players that, they say, I don't really want to go to school. I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to play. I'm going to see if I can better myself in the sport, see if I can get, a new contract at a bigger club, see if I can help this club get promoted. So it really depends on the mindset of the individual.
No, agreed.
But, I definitely agree that, in the US, the quality is very high.
Yeah. And so talking about, Niko, what's going on here with the Serie A Elite Showcase thing, I think one of the cool things about this, just kind of to kind of bring it back together before we start talking about the qualities that you're looking for, is it seems like there is an educational avenue with it too. So it's like, I think a lot of parents out there of young goalkeepers, who they hear about trial opportunities to go overseas and everything, they get very worried because, education is so valued here in the United States. And they're so worried where their kid's not going to, they're going to go over there and they're just going to be wild on a soccer field and with no guidance whatsoever. But it seems like Rome City is very involved in the studies program too.
Yeah, they are. And like, like I said, I did my master's there back in 2020 and 2021. And, for me as a student there, it was really fantastic from the academic side, but also on the coaching side for me in particular. So my master's is in coaching and sports management in particular. A lot of my professors, they were, Antonio Cincotta, who was my methodology professor. He was at the time at Fiorentina. He was a Serie A manager on the women's side. Marco Montini, he's with the FIGC, the federation there. He just won the World Cup with the Italian, I believe it was under 23 team on the men's side. So, for me personally, it was top education for what I wanted to do. But with that, I also worked in the academy system there at Trastevere Calcio. And, for me in particular, I got to work with the FIGC. I got to experience that academy, culture, that structure, and also learn the Italian school of soccer and also goalkeeping. So for me, it was really important on the educational side for what I wanted to do and what I wanted to get out of it.
You know what's so funny about this, Saskia, is that Italian goalkeepers they're always sometimes considered some of the best in the world. And yet I know very little about their developmental system. I always hear about the English, developmental system and the German developmental system, but very rarely do I hear anything about Italy. Is it the same on your side?
Yeah, it's the same on my side. Absolutely. So do tell.
So Niko, tell us,
Yeah.
tell us. That's why you're here, man. What the heck are you looking for in the Serie A? What are the qualities that the goalkeeper needs?
So that's a very loaded question. So when we talk about Serie A, like you're asking, the way I'm getting it is, what do you need to be able to play like for a big top club right now? Okay. So I don't think that for what the Serie A Elite showcases, in particularly for, because you can't really have like a 13, 14, 15-year-old go start at that level for the most part. You might see a 16, 17-year-old be able to get that start, but that's through the development. So I think, the expectation is like here for like, the first team to be the number one. And there are quality attributes to the game that I see in 5 pillars. I see a technical side, tactical side, mental and psychological side, a physical side, but also a social side. The 4 of the 5 are most common. I add the social because as a goalkeeper, you have to understand the game. You have to be able to communicate well with others on the field and off the field, and be able to have those lines of communication with your teammates, but also with the coach, because you're kind of a conductor on the field. You have to have that voice, and you have to create energy. You want to have the players work for you. And, say you go down 1-0, you have to have that voice to get the ball at the back of the net, which is very tough, and then get your team back on track and, forge forward and continue. So I think that's where that big social aspect comes in. So for me, I like to use the 5 pillars. So with that, in general, I think, for players, that's what coaches look at, or attributes like that, because for this particular opportunity, it's seeing what attributes and what qualities of those 5 pillars that the player possesses. And because they're, the showcase is based 13 to 18, it's more for the academy side to identify players to go now be a part of that Italian school, to learn the Italian game, to learn the methodology and the structure of that particular club if they end up going there. So,
Niko, I just want to add on to that. Saskia, we've talked about this in regards to going overseas, and Niko, you bringing up the social aspect, that's just so massive. And like, if you want to play, and you're more than likely, it's going to be easier for you to succeed in a different league, in the Serie A, if you come from the United States, if you spend a little bit of time within the culture first, as opposed to just getting thrown in there. We've seen a lot of times young players, get sold, transferred over to another country, and it doesn't work out because they're just not familiar with the culture. They're not familiar with the league. And because of that, there's just that uncomfortability, especially as a goalkeeper.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's why, Niko brought up, but that's why you're not going to see a 15, 16-year-old goalkeeper on the first team, like pretty much anywhere, because it does demand a certain amount. You have to be able to socialize with your team. And I don't mean like going to bars after a game and stuff like that, but I mean, you have to garner a certain amount of respect from people that are twice your age, that have been in the league for a long time. And that's why goalkeeping tends to be at a higher age range to really break into any like top division 1, not college, but any top division pro team on both sides, really. And there takes a lot of development. And I agree 100%. It's very hard at a young age to go get plopped down in Italy, learn the language, try to, get some sort of understand the culture, not be homesick. And I know there are kids out there listening going, oh, I wouldn't be homesick. I'd love to play. It's not easy. It's not, and I just had that conversation we were talking about, like with, one of our young players that went down to Mexico as a goalkeeper and was struggling the first 2 days just because of the culture differences and the language barriers and everything like that. And that's just for a week,
And I think, one of the good things, Niko, about this, kind of getting back to your program that you're doing, is that the goalkeeper's not just being thrown to Italy and it's like, best of luck in Milan, enjoy yourself, hopefully it works out. Yeah. No, they're going over there and they're spending a little bit of time getting acclimated to the culture and to the experience. And then after that, they come back, and then, if there's more interest, they come back again. So it's a slow process as opposed to just getting thrown immediately into it.
No, exactly. And you used a really good word there, is experience. And not only in the soccer sense of having, game experience, having training experiences, having, this particular situation experience to learn from it, understand it, but also that life experience. Absolutely. Which kind of goes back to what Saskia was saying about, older keepers probably get the nod before a younger keeper, is because of that experience. And that's one thing that I think a lot of young players, they kind of overlook, and they're like, oh, why am I not playing now? And it's because of that experience. And it's finding the opportunity to embrace the moments to gain that experience, but also be around the older players, the more experienced and seasoned players, and learning from them, learning from their experiences, having those conversations. And that line of understanding is now, again, part of that social aspect that really pushes the keeper to develop and become better. And that's off the ball as well.
And I think you see, if you wonder out there, like any young kids, like, well, you see young field players, and well, we all know that field players can get subbed like a lot more easily, and it does come down to some simple facts like that than a goalkeeper, and where you're not going to sub a goalkeeper, and you're going to kind of stick with a goalkeeper maybe throughout a couple seasons to get them their experience and all the pillars that we talked about. You can sub in a field player and say, okay, I'm going to throw a 15-year-old in for 15 minutes or something every game, and then eventually some more. And it's just it's totally different.
Niko, I want to ask you this, because obviously, Serie A is known as a very technical league, very defensively sound, a lot of structure there. So with that being said, when you're looking to identify goalkeepers that you think are going to be successful in Serie A, are you looking for that at the younger ages? Are you looking for people that understand how for their team to keep shape and how to read the game, as opposed to necessarily, if it's England, you're like, oh, well, you're looking for somebody that's big and strong and they can handle crosses, because there's so much of that going on in the game there?
Well, I think that goes back to the basic principle of goalkeeping. Like, when you think of like technical and tactical, like, people think, oh, I can punt the ball like this, I can distribute like this. That really doesn't matter if you can't get the ball in your hands and if you don't have that technical ability to make that save. So, for me, because I can speak on my experience that, I've had with the Italian school, that technical aspect is very important, especially at the young age. The tactical aspect can be learned over time. And there's a sense of, okay, like, through the academy system of, okay, let's have fun, enjoy the game, fall in love with the game. From there, okay, we find a little technical abilities, okay, we learn how to train, okay, say like, 10 to 13, then from 13 to 15, 16, somewhere in there, you're training to train. Then at the next point, okay, now you're training to compete at some point. And I think that's a good way to see the academy structure. So for me, I'm like, when I'm there and I'm creating a session based on, the attributes that I think could be well placed in, that potential age group that, for that player to be playing at, because age is not only a thing, but also the level, because players can play up as well. So for me, those attributes, they stem from the technical aspect, which is huge in the Italian, school of soccer, but also the school of goalkeeping. So my experience at the academy level in Italy, it was, all technical with some tactical aspects. And then there's a point with some of the older players that now we bring some defenders in, and then, okay, now we're in with the team and with the goalkeepers, helping make adjustments at the time. Like, we're on the field. Okay, if he has the ball there in this situation, do we, step laterally? Can we show for, to be a supporting player? Do we step back? What foot are we going with first? And getting into more, the specifics of the technical stuff, so they can make those technical choices on their own and learn from their experiences. And a huge thing with that was once or twice a month, the Fiji chief, the federation, would come into the academy, and we'd have conversations about this, and they'd be on the field with us once a month as well to kind of find that structure.
I think that I think that's important, and obviously, one of the difficulties in a country like the United States, Saskia, as opposed to, I'm not saying Italy's a small country, but it's a smaller country than the United States, is that it's very difficult to get kind of U.S. Federation at every club practice, involved in every environment from a coaching education standpoint. I mean, we don't even have a full-time goalkeeping program here in the United States, so that's a whole other topic right there. So like, I think that would be, that would be challenging for a young goalkeeper to come over to Italy, and if they don't have a technical foundation here first.
Yeah. I mean, yes. And I think that it would be wonderful if we could all get on the same page, and have that sort of kind of a structure, like a build up structure, which I totally agree with. I totally agree with, what Niko's saying with, going with technical first. And because at the same time, the field players at 12 and 13 years old aren't maybe tactically responsible enough to jump into things either. Like if you're trying to organize and your defense doesn't get it, at that age either. But I think that, you're right. Like if you don't have the ball, then, if you're not getting the ball, making the saves, technically doing what you're supposed to do, then how do you build out of that? So, it's one foot in front of the other, and it takes time. I still technically understanding the game. Like it's, it just, and I felt that even for my career, there's a moment when things kind of flip and you do start reading the game and you do start seeing, how do I organize things so I can manipulate situations, and that, your brain has to develop and everything else has to develop as well to get to that point.
I think you're just bringing up a really good point, Saskia. Niko, obviously, when you're talking about bringing in a 13, 14, 15-year-old into a new country and a new culture and a new environment, you're still talking about somebody who's in the development, not just on the field, but off the field too. So like it's important to well round the individual in order to have a successful goalkeeper, over there, right?
No, definitely. And that goes back to what I was saying before about that life experience. And that creates a fine line of being comfortable, being very uncomfortable. And it's how you deal with that situation. If you're going to, continue to grow, or if you kind of shut down. So that fight or flight response. And it's, it shows kind of that mentality going to the other aspect of it, the mental aspect of the game. If the player is able to, get through that hard times, because the game is, the game is beautiful, but it's like life a lot as well, just from a philosophical standpoint of things, Or are you going to panic when the times get tough and there's a rough situation, or can you, keep composed and find solutions? And that's huge. And I think, life experience kind of helps develop the person's brain, any individual in general. Myself, I've gone through some hard times, but I have to figure it out. And if I don't figure it out, it's going to keep happening until I do figure it out. And the same thing goes on the field. You come, you get set, and you're too far close, you're too near to your near post, and the ball keeps getting slotted past you on the back post. That ball's going to keep happening because you keep giving the opportunity for it. So you have to learn from it. So, that's a huge part of, even just coming to a showcase, or like, going to a practice and having a tough situation, if you're at like your club or academy team, is, understanding the moment, respecting it, not getting too flustered, but finding the solution, because that won't only help you develop as a player, but also as a person.
What's really interesting about what you just said right there is how flustered I was getting with my light falling off and down on my laptop right there. And I just put it over to the left right over there. And I was like, oh, I'm problem solving right now. I'm not freaking out. I'm not panicking in the moment. And this is all because of the experiences I've had throughout my life, throughout my development as a podcaster.
There
so
you
now
go,
I'm able to handle the situation.
You mean you didn't have a panic attack when I
no, but
went off the screen?
I would have. But one of the things, Niko, in regards to this is that, obviously has not been a history of American goalkeepers over in Italy. There's been a history of American goalkeepers in Germany, in England, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, all sorts of different places. But Italy has not been one of them. What are the attributes of an American goalkeeper that you think are going to be successful over in Italy?
I think the physical part. Because U.S. with especially the way the school system is, with gym classes and all that, you have different sports throughout middle school, high school, and sports clubs and all that, playing in the neighborhood. It's that different type of coordination, from like hand-eye coordination, playing basketball, to different athletic movements that are not just sport specific or position specific to the game of soccer, but also in general. And those athletic movements and attributes kind of build towards your athleticism. Between that and also a lot of, young players now getting extra training with a performance coach, or like, working out in the gym, or things like that, really helps develop the muscles, also helps develop you know, the athletic ability that can translate to the field as well.
You know, I'm throwing this up here right now, Niko, because, you know, these are some clips, and thank you for sharing, you know, some of your clips, your training and everything like that. But if you look at this, you know, the profile of the American goalkeeper really is becoming on the men's side, you know, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", long, wiry, very similar to the build of the Italian goalkeeper that I'm seeing today. Is that one of the things, like, when you're talking about from the physical, it's just the frame?
The frame of the person, but also, you know, the explosive movements through them, that kind of that twitch in the muscle. Because, you know, for a goalkeeper to dive, a lot of it comes through, like, for me, my understanding and my belief, it comes through that big toe. Okay. I got turf toe last year, completely knocked me off my game. Going through the exercises to come back, I noticed a different type of explosion, like when I was still playing. So definitely that, you know, played a big part. But like here, this is Robin. This is from the last school I was at. So Robbie, he's actually German. He's from Germany. He moved back there. He's playing back there now. But, you know, one of the, when we were recruiting him at the time, you know, the physicality was one of the things. And I think the physical distinction of a player, you know, whether it be in feet or meters or however you want to look at it, that definitely plays a huge part in where a player goes, especially a goalkeeper. Because from my personal experience, like, you know, I'm 5'11", so I'm short. So I got looked over a lot because of it. You know,
You're not short. You're above average height for
I was waiting for
a male. For a male, don't complain. 5'11", geez, I'd love to be.
Yeah,
5'11".
but, you know, when you have an agent and, you know, you're talking with teams, they're like, oh, we're looking for 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and I am about 4, 5, 6, 7 inches off of the type of player they want, the, you know, the qualities they're looking for in that physical standard. So I mean, I think that plays a big part. You know, from training the height, you cannot train height. It's impossible. But you can definitely, you know, John Bush, heck of an example. John Bush, shorter goalkeeper, but one of the MLS best. And it's because of his physical ability. He didn't let it count him out, but he gave, you know, to his training, he gave to the life that he was, you know, living day in, day out, to put himself in the best possible position to, you know, make the saves. So it's training your situation as well.
No, of course. And, you know, I think, you know, Saskia, you know, one thing that I want to bring up, you know, with you is the fact that, like, you know, 13, 14, 15, you really don't, I mean, you can have an idea of what the size is going to be of a goalkeeper, but you really don't know how they're going to fill out. You don't know how tall they're going to be or any of that sort of thing. So it's still a little bit of a crapshoot, isn't it?
It is, but I think you can have an idea. I think you can. Look at their feet.
Are you saying my size 9 feet already gave an indication?
Exactly. Like you're training a 14-year-old girl and she's got size 11 feet and size 10 hands. I think you can kind of assume she's going to be over 6 feet. But I don't think it necessarily translates as well into the women's game. I think we do see women's goalkeepers taller and everything. You know, you have your Lund, your Murphys and stuff like that, but sometimes it's not better. And I think there's still that in between height, whether it's 5'9", 10, 11 in the women's game. I can't say 5'9" short because I'm 5'9". But I think that what we're finding with the taller goalkeepers is, I think, slower goalkeepers. And people can come at me for that. I'm not saying Murphy. That's not what I'm saying. I was using Casey as height indication. And that comes down to technical. It comes down to training your feet, understanding your body size, shape, and everything like that. Women move differently than men. And I think that I find some of the goalkeepers that I watch that break that 6 foot barrier are a little bit slow. And so, you know, some of the goalkeepers I really like are probably under 6 feet and very explosive, have really, really, have really good quick feet. and have their positioning down to make up for their loss of height. And so I don't like, but I get it. I get, like, I've dealt with college coaches that are like, well, how tall is she? And I'm like, that should not be your only concern, like, well, I want somebody that's, this tall or that's tall. And I'm like, well, you just missed out on a great recruit. You know who you are.
And
So
that goes back to the point, just like, from tactical to technical, you can have a tall keeper, but if the player cannot catch the ball or get in the right position, it's not going to help you much.
Yep.
But aren't you, Niko, at like 13, 14, 15, just getting back to the showcase environment, aren't you looking for ceiling? So they might necessarily not have that yet, and obviously recruiting in the college game's a little bit different because you're looking for a little bit more of the finished product, at that level, because you're talking about an 18, 19-year-old.
Well, I don't think you look at the kind of the height attribute of a player until they're a senior player, because they're still growing and developing. And like, we're talking about, first team versus, youth. The first team, you look at, their mentality, how they are, if they're, down to earth or if they're arrogant. You look at the height, you look at, how they are with their feet, how they can catch, their positioning, technical ability, and all that. At the youth level, you look more technical, a little bit tactical, how they are as a person, if they're a little more closed, if they're quieter, if they talk a lot, or if they're open-minded, closed-minded, like, receptive, if they would be receptive to taking in new information and learning and being in that growing mindset environment. So, I mean, that's another thing, like, if a player from the US were to go to another country in the academy, if they're closed-minded, they wouldn't fit the profile well, just because it wouldn't work out for either party. Both would be frustrated and no one would be learning, compared to the player that would go that's open-minded, trying to understand, trying to learn the language, trying to get a better understanding of, how can I develop in this culture, in this environment? How can I have a better relationship with my teammates and my coach here?
Yeah, you have to be coachable at that age. You have to be adaptable. And if you're not, like, you will fall by the wayside, because, to come in arrogant and, to use the word you use, Niko, and I agree with that, is to come in at that age arrogant is the biggest mistake you could ever make.
It's interesting what Andreas just put up right here. I never even thought about this before, Andreas. So thank you for pointing this out right here. He said is that if a 5'11" keeper can do what a 6'2" keeper can, the 5'11" keeper, is more athletic. It takes more athleticism for a 5'11" keeper to be able to replicate what a 6'2" goalkeeper can do. So if you're talking about,
pulling down crosses or something like that, like, yeah.
So, but
I think when it comes to shot stopping, like, that comes down to movement, explosion, and positioning. I think if you're talking about going up for crosses in a crowd and stuff like that, the 5'11" goalkeeper definitely has to have their athleticism, their timing, their positioning on point to go up in a crowd against a bunch of 6'1" or 2" field players, depending on what league you're playing in, and bring the ball down. So, yes, there is some truth to that. Yeah.
No, I also agree, but it's also interesting that he said that, and it's also interesting that Michael said not all, like, I wouldn't have thought of that. It's because some things are measurable and some things are not measurable. Yeah. So, like, from like the physical test of, like, sprinting, a T test, anything like that, we can measure the time. We can have some concrete evidence and show a progression or a digression over time. With, height to athleticism, or even, anyone's opinion of a player, if it's at a showcase or if it's in a training session, that's to that own person's, perspective and, judgment at the time. That's something that's not concrete and cannot be measured, but it's only someone's opinion.
Well, speaking of that, Saskia, obviously, this showcase is coming up that Niko's going to be a part of, scouting and identifying to bring goalkeepers over to Italy. Like, do you have any advice for young goalkeepers kind of going into that type of environment? Because obviously that can be very nerve-wracking, not just only for the young player, but also for the parents.
Well, parents stay home. Like we just said, you have to go in and be coachable and open-minded and be willing to make mistakes. And it's because you have to, as a young goalkeeper, realizing what Niko and them aren't looking for is the perfect goalkeeper out there at 15 or 14 years old. They're looking for who to develop. And so, like I said, be open-minded, be there, know you're going to make mistakes. And it's how you don't realize, and I don't think young players realize this, you're watching everything. So us as coaches are watching everything. We're watching your mental side of it, which Niko brought up plenty. How are you reacting to making the mistakes? How are you reacting to your players around you? How are you reacting to adversity? How are you responding when you do something really well? You know, that's all part of it too, to see if this is the type of person mentally strong enough to bring overseas, to bring to Italy, and can handle that. So it's not just about your shot stopping ability and everything like that. It's about the full package.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things, Niko, I have a question in regards to that, like, because, when we're talking about going overseas, like, how important is an EU passport? Because I always hear it's so, you need to have an EU passport in order to be able to get into an academy and all that. Like, is that something that's like a requirement before you even go to this showcase?
I have one for sale if anybody wants it.
It's not a requirement. I mean, the showcase is open at everyone. The only thing that the showcase is limited by right now is, it's a boys showcase. The age is between 13 and 18. And also, space can be limited as well, depending on how many coaches we can possibly have for players. So other than that, it's open to anyone and all. But I mean, having, a passport, it's probably helpful. Going through the bureaucratic process, I can't speak on that, just because, that's not my line of work and I don't want to misspeak. But, obviously having one would, definitely help opportunity, because teams only have certain amount of international spots once you get to a certain age.
And just really quickly before we get into these college clips and some really, really awesome actions by your young goalkeeper over here. It's Abby, right? Abby Cowles?
Abby Coles.
Abby Coles. Is that, are all the clubs looking at this showcase? Like, is it like Milan, Juventus, like all the clubs, or is it like specific clubs?
So it's open to all the clubs. So, the event that they're going to have in Rome, that's up to the club's discretion if they're going to send 1 scout, 2 scout, no scouts. So, the showcase gives the opportunity to present, yourself as a player, but also gives the opportunity to, get another opportunity eventually. So, for me as a goalkeeper coach for them, I'm running them through a session. And then the collective staff of Rome City Institute, they're making that decision of, if someone is going to be invited to that,
that next step.
Yeah, that next step. So yeah.
All right. Let's get to these clips right here. So this is there's some really, really cool actions right here. So I think this is against Binghamton, and it's like 0-0 with like 3 minutes left in the half. There's a spin move at the top of the 18. Actually, let me just play it all right back here. It's like a spin move at the top by Samaya Reed right here. Shot on goal. And now, Coles? It's a spill. And as Saskia says, never follow one mistake with a second mistake. She gets right back up because it's a dangerous area. Lauren Clark tries to lift it right over her, but she gets that big paw up, and it's a brilliant save over the bar right there. That is just absolutely massive on the brilliant recovery. So let's break this down from the very top right here. So Niko, first off, what is she seeing right here?
So right now she's looking at the ball, where the ball is, trying to make sure she's in the right position between the ball and the middle of the goal. And then one thing I've been focusing on is the leg load. So once you see the leg load, then we get into that stance for reaction, and then it's quick reaction saves after that. So here, obviously, a little spill, but now what can we do to fix it? Find a solution.
And I love it. Just that quick hand shot up right there. I mean, I love it. Saskia's looking at that because this is exactly what she wants for somebody to do. Not dwell on the fact that I just spilled the ball. Next thing you know, it's in the back of the net, right?
Right. Well, you can tell like her focus, so her head, her eyes, and everything are still on where the rebound went. And so just get, it doesn't have to be pretty. Like she's even still on her knees here, but she just says, I got to make myself big and get what I can to this ball. And even still to have the body shape on your knee. I know this is crazy. The body shape on your knees to get power enough with that one hand to pop it over the bar is great. It's just, what can I do? What can I get to this?
I was just literally going to say that because I've seen a lot of goalkeepers, including myself, who've tried to make this save and we don't get enough push off on it, enough power on it. And so we end up tipping it into the net. But she's able to really get that full power behind it. Niko, is that something you work on recovery movements?
So recovery movements to an extent, yes. A big thing that I like to do in particular, everything has to be ball oriented. So not focusing on the person, the player, you have rec to the person or rec to the ball. So it's all ball oriented, actions that I like to train. So not really focusing too much on the person, but the deflection, because that ball can deflect off anybody. The shot can look like it's going to the keeper's left, hit somebody, goes to the right. It has to be ball oriented for me.
Yeah. Speaking of ball oriented, I want to move on to this next clip right here as how disappointed that player is. You can see from her on the floor right there. She's like, I should have. She's like, how did I not score that right there? Let's see here if it's, oh yeah. So right here. So this is against Navy, I believe. And the game is tied up and it's a dribble direct by Alexa Riddle towards the near post. And I've seen so many young goalkeepers, Niko, in this situation, and older goalkeepers, including myself, come off this post right here, exposing that space, and then they just get slotted on. But obviously, he's right there, nice and tight with the post, waits for the player to make a commitment, stays with it, disciplined, and it's just a great save on the near post right there. So, why don't you kind of take us back here from the dribble first?
Yeah, so I believe that was on the kickoff. Just overloaded the one side, found the space and behind. And again, now finding that space, you see her chuck her shoulder, looking for that post, probably heels to the post was her thought. And now just focusing on the 1v1 with the player. And again, ball-oriented movement, reacting to the ball. Because here, it's the defenders are, behind the attacking player. So it's, it's on her. And I can only speak for, how I train and, my thoughts on it. I can't speak for her. So a huge thing for me is like, I can never play for the player. I can only train them for the situations, what they might see, and prepare them for the, to make the correct decision. And that's huge is, making the correct decision consistently. And that's what creates a higher level player.
Yeah. Saskia, any thoughts right here?
Well, I think we've talked about this so many times, Mike, is like sometimes you don't we'll see so many young goalkeepers come here, right? And remember that you're being baited. Okay. There's no long touch. The ball's right on her foot. She's trying to get you to just come like a dart at her so she can slot it while you're moving underneath. So having the IQ to say, okay, I'm going to make you beat me. I'm going to, because now you're not coming. So you didn't bite and you're giving time for your defender to recover. So like we've talked about this so many times, the forward knows there's pressure coming. So now she has to make a decision. You didn't make it for her. And she's also taken herself into an angle and you close that angle properly. It's going to allow you to make this save. Had she come out, which we see so many young goalkeepers do, say, oh my God, here comes 1v1. I got to go flying at her. You've just gotten baited, and that's in the back of the net.
Yeah, right here. Boom.
There's no long touch.
Yeah.
And to have the IQ, the goalkeeper IQ to say, well, okay, she's not long touching it. She's keeping on her foot. She's keeping on her foot. So if I move forward right now, she's going to catch me on my movement. And so she waits. And I think she just does little micro movements to close the spaces, to close the angles, and she's got her.
I absolutely love that. It's just that lateral movement across, basically forcing her into a bad angle where she doesn't have a shot on goal. And it's just, I mean, she's got nothing here. She's got nothing.
I mean, if I was a coach for the other team, I would have told her to take a touch more central, to cut in front of that defender that was recovering and either get taken down or have more of the goal to shoot at. So.
Niko, anything else you want to add to that before we move on to this next clip?
No, we can move on to LIU, I believe.
Yes. Oh, you knew right away.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is against LIU. I think you guys were up 1-0, right?
That was
in
the
this game
final.
right here. This is the final play.
No, that was the final score, 1-0.
Oh, the final score. No. So losing my voice here. In swinging cross to the top of the 18. It's a simple one-touch ball inside the box to Van Bosbeek, I think it is. She dribbles for separation. Shot with an obstructed view to the back post. Coles covers it.
Nice.
Great awareness. Boom. And save right over there. Obviously, a difficult situation for a goalkeeper. Not a lot you can see right here.
No, not a lot you can see, and this is where that kind of team studio comes into play of like, our scouting reports here and kind of understanding the player. So like for me in particular, I want to have a great understanding of the other team. So I'm definitely going to do my homework, and I take that into consideration in how I make my training sessions days in preparation for the match, and try to expose some of the similar and trendy movements and actions of the attacking players. That way it's recognizable. It's a trained behavior that, somewhat seen before the match. And, we're ready for anything that can happen and come up.
I mean, this is a difficult save to make, Susk, is it not?
Yeah, but I love the load on the leg, and it's an attacking load, so she's got it at a good angle, and she goes two hands to the ball to get the most power out of her entire body that she can.
Yeah. And I think this is one of those situations from a mental standpoint too. A lot of young goalkeepers, they just give up. They go, I can't see the ball, and they panic, and the next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. They don't even get any sort of push off. But instead, she gives her best effort that she could give, and what happens. And because of that, she's successful with it.
Yeah, no, she did a fantastic job, and definitely huge save for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, boom. God, I mean, she's literally being tucked to the back
Full
post.
stretch.
Full stretch.
Full stretch. That is massive. How much obstructed view work do you do, Niko, at your trainings?
I do quite a bit. It really depends on the day. What our training load looks like, and then I always try to, for me, I try to complement what we're doing on the field. So try to complement what we're doing with the field players after the goalkeeper session. Also trying to, create a preparation for who we're going to be playing that week. Whether it's like, match day +1, -2, or just match day -2. It's just kind of, making sure we're fresh, making sure we're on our toes, and we're always prepared. So it really depends on the week, and, kind of what I'm thinking. Also, like, my conversations I have with my keepers, and kind of seeing how they are, and what maybe the one is, maybe, they want to have like more 1v1 or angle play. Okay, we can, try to figure something out. But I try to be creative every day. One of the best pieces of coaching advice I ever got was actually from my professor at Rome City. He says, if you want to be a great coach, you have to play basketball. So what that means, you take a piece of paper, you draw up your session every day, you put it, into your computer, whatever system you have. And then when you're done with it, you crumble it up at the end of the day and play basketball with a recycling bin, trash can, whatever you have. So to answer your question, I don't have, set days of the week. I do specific things. I try to be creative every day, and, feel the moment, see, what, we need to work on, what we want to prepare for, and also try to complement what we're doing as a team within staying in, like, our training load.
Yeah. As we start wrapping this up, Saskia and Niko, thanks for taking the time, on a match day. I know that's always a difficult, hectic time with people handing you cords and scouting reports and all sorts of crazy stuff before the game. We've talked about this a lot, Saskia, in regards to, for a lot of young goalkeeper coaches out there, how important it is that you replicate what the goalkeeper is going to be seeing in the games and the demands that they're going to be seeing. And so many young goalkeeper coaches out there, I still see doing sessions where with full on view, and this playing at the highest of levels, you rarely get a full view on the ball.
No, we talk about that all the time. You have to, it has to be game realistic, depending on what you're working on. We just spent the beginning of this podcast talking about, depending on the age, focusing on technical ability and everything like that, then working it up to tactical and understanding, adding defenders and everything. But when you're at a certain point, college, going into the pros, certain age, then yes, a lot of the things you do, they have to be game realistic. Not, you can build to it, but it has to be incorporated into your training.
Yeah, but if it's dead ball, neutral space, wide open view the entire session, unless it's a fully technical session on just
Right.
it's not gonna be preparing you for the match actions. So Niko, as we start wrapping up, again, thanks for this. So tell us when is this showcase, and if you want to plug it before. Before we get off.
There are a few showcases coming up. There will be one November 12th and 13th down in Miami. The following weekend, November 18th and 19th, we'll have one here in Baltimore at UMBC. And then there'll be one in January in California. Location to be determined, but it'll be out in California in January. So with that, there are different ones that go throughout the year. There's always a Kansas City one, a New York one. I believe there's going to be one in Argentina at some point in November as well.
Whoa.
So that definitely expanding. And also they go up to Canada, so Montreal and Toronto as well. And soon to come, Boston.
Argentina, that developing soccer nation, that just very, very much never seen any Argentinian goalkeepers by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
coming
I can't name
any. Totally joking there. Well, awesome, man. Obviously, guys, if you want to reach out to us, it's contact at inside18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast on the Union. If you don't know what the Union is, it is a platform for youth players and their parents to engage with top pros all over the world. We're doing breakdown sessions. We're doing town halls for parents. All sorts of college recruiting stuff's going to be coming up. I know Niko's going to be getting involved very soon once the college season wraps up. He's been a little bit busy with that, but I believe your handle, if anybody wants to reach out to you, is at Roro the Greek over there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And obviously, guys, you can reach out to Saskia at Saskia, as you can see it right over there. It doesn't get any easier than that, guys. Now,
well, it's not like at Kim.
No, but you know what's going to happen is some young goalkeeper in Holland is going to join, and she's going to have to be like at Saskia 1 or something like that. And so she'll start getting all these DMs for you. Oh my gosh, guys. Well, we appreciate all the time, guys. That's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.